Hello and welcome. Inflation is rising, which means our ability to buy things or our purchasing power, as it is called, is getting affected. So are our savings, because the value of those savings is diminishing in a manner that we've not seen in a while. So the number is 6.3%. Now, 6.3% could mean different things at different points of time, but suffice to say that it has been rising. And for the month of May, it was at this point. In the month of April, it was 4.25%. So you can see that inflation is rising quite rapidly at a time when you would think consumption is slowing down because of lockdowns and therefore should be going in the other direction. So the big question is, why is inflation going up in the manner that it is? What is the impact of this? What we can feel is obviously one part of it, but what does this mean in a slightly larger sense, which could help us understand what could happen going forward or around the corner if we could look around that? And the next question obviously is, what could bring it down, if anything? And what are we seeing not just in India, but elsewhere in the world? So to discuss this, I'm joined by DK Joshi, Chief Economist at rating agency CRISIL, to answer these questions. Mr. Joshi, thank you very much for joining me as always. So first question, we do know it is rising. We do know it affects us quite badly in the way we lead our lives on a daily basis. So why is it happening, and why is it happening now?
Thank you, Govind. And I think there are two sets of reasons. One is the international prices. The crude is already above 75. And I think then we have taxes on domestic taxes on crude, which are quite high. So I think the combination of both creates high fuel inflation. Then I think the second factor is, in general, the commodity prices have firmed up very, very fast and very sharply. And global recovery plus a strong rebound in commodity intensive manufacturing sector. Services haven't picked up, but the manufacturing has picked up. So that has given a big boost to metal prices, steel prices, your aluminum. So all these are seeing upturn. And then on top of that, I think from the food side, the edible oils, where we import more than 60% of our requirement, has seen a very sharp increase. So these are global factors which are outside our control. On the domestic side, I think we have taxes on oil, as I just mentioned. I mean, these are contributing to prices in petroleum products remaining high. We also had import tariffs on some of the commodities which were introduced after the budget this year, I think, and last year. So they are also keeping imported inflation high. And finally, I think there is some supply disruption which also feeds into. So if you compare what's happening in India with the rest of the world, I think the demand is rising. The advanced countries are growing very fast. So demand is likely to contribute more to inflation. For India, I think it is more of cost push inflation from the supply side. And I think if you look at the nature of inflation, I think that also tells you who's getting hit. I mean, for instance, fuel inflation for the average for April and May is 9.8%. And if you look at food, and if we talk of dal roti, I think the roti is getting cheaper. Cereal inflation, rice, wheat, I think is negative. But if you look at the other side, which is the dal or the proteins, I think whether it is animal proteins or it is the vegetable proteins, both of them are seeing very high inflation in double digits. And also, I think oils and fats, which is obviously, I think, imported. And finally, the services sector, which is, I think, transport and communication, which has seen 11.6% inflation. And then health, which I think where the spending is increasing because of the pandemic, is essentially a healthcare problem. So health inflation has risen to 8.1% on the average in the last 2 months. So there is a broad-based push to inflation. I think except cereals, I think everything else, most of the things are looking up.
Right. So that's an interesting point, both health as well as fuel. So fuel affects most people. Health affects maybe not most, but a lot of people. So how would you, or could you compute how an average Indian is getting affected, or to what extent? Because some of the points you said, for instance, let's say the price of wheat has gone down.
Well, I think if you look at from the consumption side, I think it hits the poor more than the rich. I mean, that is for sure. And also, I think what we know is that the if right now the purchasing power of the poorer people has gone down because there has been a hit to income and not so much hit to the upper income categories. So from that perspective, also I think it is having an inequitable impact on the poorer person. And I think and incomes are generally under stress. It amplifies the problem of ability to consume, so to say. And I think it's more pronounced for poor people. And I think what we also find is that this time around, I think the last time the rural economy did well, but and the food inflation remaining high is not good news for everyone, but it definitely is good news for farmers because they realize more for their produce. And what we are seeing this year is completely reverse of last year. I think the food inflation has averaged around 3.5% in the first 5 months of this calendar year. And the non-food inflation is at 6%. But if you look at last year, it was just the opposite. Food inflation was 9.6% and non-food was below 5%. So what this means is that the farmers sell food and they buy non-food. So I think from the non-food has become expensive and food has gone down. So clearly, I think this price dynamics are not very favorable for rural folks and particularly for farmers. So that's right. another way to look at it. And I think from an overall, I think if I divide the economy into rural and urban, the rural economy benefited from higher NREGA spending last year and also good monsoons. This year, I think the monsoons are supportive, but NREGA spending is lower. And on top of that, the price dynamics are not very favorable from a farmer's perspective. So I think so all that means that the rural economy is getting squeezed compared to what we saw last year.
Right. So if we were to look at the constituents of inflation, what is driving prices up, therefore making the cost of living more for me, what could bring it down? As what could potentially, I mean, what is there in our control, if anything, that could reverse it?
Well, I think the only thing in our control is to reverse what some of the things that we had initiated earlier. I mean, you can bring down import tariffs. That can bring relief on the imported inflation side. You can bring down domestic tariffs on petroleum products, which is a tough ask right now, given that fiscally there is so much of stress. But I think these will have a spillover effect on the economy, which is very positive because the fuel inflation rising means that it cascades into many other parts of the economy as well. I mean, through transportation costs, etc. So I think the reducing fuel inflation while lowering taxes would be a good idea at this juncture. Otherwise, I think if inflation continues to remain above 6% on a continuous basis, then RBI will have to use its firepower, which I think will not be very effective in the current scenario. I think so. The ball is in government's court, so to say, I think, to control this cost push inflation and give relief. And then I just wanted to add one more thing to, I think, since you asked earlier about the consumer, the savings behavior also gets altered. I mean, what we typically find is that the fixed income instruments, which means your bank fixed deposit in a bank, is giving negative return. I mean, so what many of the investors who have money to invest, I think they start moving towards more riskier asset classes like equities, etc. Which I think if this continues, then this has ramifications for financial stability also going ahead. So
right, and almost 50% of household financial savings are in fixed deposits. Am I right?
That's right.
Right. So most people would therefore not see a return on that. So this combination of economic forces, so cost push, as you said, which means that it's not because we're consuming more that prices are going up. Prices are going up because costs are high elsewhere, including fuel, which is getting pushed into us. Lower incomes because of various reasons, including COVID itself. And the damage that it's wreaking on the economy. Have we seen anything like this before, or is there anything close to anything that we've seen before? And therefore, what could you compare with if you were to draw a path out of this?
Well, we have seen various instances where inflation rose, where when growth was coming down, and people started raising noise about stagflation. But I think in terms of magnitude, at least in my working knowledge, I mean, whenever I started looking at the economy, I haven't seen a period when I think the economy fell so much and the inflation was still above. Maybe I think in the early 70s, etc. I don't remember that data, but in my working life, I haven't seen so much stress.
Right.
In
DK
terms of
Joshi. Right. Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, that's fine.
Okay. DK Joshi, Chief Economist at CRISIL Ratings. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.